Hey everybody, Sol here, and today we're going to be doing a discussion on Butch Hartman's Oaxis Entertainment Kickstarter. Now, there already are a couple videos about this, but we just wanted to kind of have a discussion about it, just sort of go point by point on Butch's project here and where some of the issues are on it. Joining me today is my guest, PIEGUYRULZ.
Hey guys, PIEGUYRULZ here.
And yeah, so we're gonna go point by point. Now, for everyone who doesn't know what Oaxis is, it's basically Butch Hartman, who is the creator of Fairly Odd Parents, Danny Phantom, Tough Puppy, and Bunsen is a Beast. He started this project on Kickstarter where he wants to make a subscription-based entertainment platform designed to reconnect the family. And his goal, hold on, I have it on Canadian here, his goal is $250,000 US to achieve that goal within a span of 30 days. He's already raised $26,854 as of the recording of this video from 400 backers. So, based on this project here, we definitely have some concerns. We have a large list of concerns, actually. So, Pi, do you want to start us off on which one is most concerning?
I mean, I can't pick one of these to be the most concerning of them all, unless you think that any one particular stands out.
Well, I think really, okay, I think the place to start would probably be the logistics of his project. So, more so what he is asked for, his budget mostly. So, this has already been mentioned by people like Critical, but his goal is $250,000 US. But his plan is to start an entire entertainment empire, basically, or like a streaming service that offers all kinds of things like gardening shows and animation. Fitness shows, yeah. Basically everything that's, he calls family-friendly entertainment, which is not very specific, but basically $250,000. Now, I don't know what he's thinking, to be honest. Like, if he has a lot of money in his savings, good, but he should specify that, because $250,000 is barely enough to even get the infrastructure needed to set up something like this. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think the irony is that, like, and I made a video about this too, like, just kind of the first night it came up, and just really, just off the cuff. I mean, it took basically no time at all, just looking through it to see, like, a few pretty big things, but I think it's a simultaneously low goal and high goal. It's a high goal in the sense of what he's actually providing here, like the information he's giving us is pretty much nothing, right? Butch Hartman is the only information in this, and family friendly. That is it. He gives so many different types of shows. He doesn't give a specific form of, like, how exactly, what is this platform? Is this a part of another platform? Is this his own website? Is this even going to be like a network television type? Like, he gives such little detail that I think $250,000 is such a huge ask. For the vagueness that he's spouting, the $26,000 that he's raised already is like a lot to basically just bank on Butch Hartman alone. But then, like you were saying, $250,000 is nothing. Like, a lot of people quote unquote corrected me in my video by saying, well, you know, Pig, he's not going to try to make all of these shows. He's not trying to do originals right away or whatever. He's going to acquire shows. And it's like, okay, well, acquiring shows still costs a lot of money. In some cases, in a lot of cases, it's more, because at least when you run your own production, you can decide how much money you're putting into it. If you're not only trying to purchase properties, but trying to outbid maybe like Netflix or YouTube Red or all these other services out there, how much money do you think that takes?
Well, YouTube Red's no longer a thing.
Oh, excuse me.
That's okay. Yeah, that's the thing, is why would a content creator who already has a completed project that's fully funded and made go to his platform when they could go to someone like Cartoon Network or Disney or Nickelodeon? Or,
Netflix.
Or Netflix, yeah, or Amazon, or any of these people that already have an established infrastructure and brand, who know that they have a subscriber base or a watcher base, and they know people get it, because ultimately, what's important to content creators is how many people watch it and how much revenue they can generate off of it. And that's kind of part of the problem here, is that Butch Hartman's Oaxis Entertainment Kickstarter does not detail how exactly he plans to generate additional revenue. Now, he says it wants to be a subscription service, that's his monetization, but the thing is that you can only do that for so long. How are you going to do it without running ads? But why should an advertiser get onto your entertainment platform if you don't have any plans for content. It's like this loop of bad decisions, as in, like, you need content to start your platform. Okay, so you need money to get your content. You need content to start your platform. You need infrastructure to start your platform. Once you start your platform, you need to give people a reason to subscribe. Once they subscribe, you need to get more revenue from them through ads and stuff like that.
And some people are giving Butch the benefit of the doubt and saying, oh, well, he knows all this stuff. He has a plan. He's an industry professional. Of course he does. And to that I say, okay, one of two things is going on right here. Either Butch Hartman is, like, comedically inept at running a Kickstarter campaign to the point where he has all these details, but he's not going to share them with you because, I don't know, whatever reason, he whatever. Or he doesn't have a plan. He has a very vague outline, and either maliciously, like, this could be a scam, I'm honestly not even ruling that out at this point, or also likely he's just in over his head, and he has this idea, but he doesn't have any way of really knowing how to put it together other than, I'm going to raise the funds now and come up with the plan later. One of those two things is true. No matter how you feel about this whole concept, you have to at least admit that, if nothing else, the Kickstarter itself is just ran just moronically.
Exactly, yeah. So even if you believe in the project as a whole, you look at it and say, oh, that's a good idea, I'm going to fund that. Yeah, if you look at examples of other Kickstarters of similar things that are run properly, there's no comparison. His entire excuse for wanting to make something like this and expecting money from people is just, well, I've been in the industry for a while. And it's like, okay, but you haven't been in the streaming industry ever.
No.
You have been on the creator side, as in you've offered creative ideas and everything like that, but it wasn't just you. Like, you had your writers, you had your producers, your animators, your everybody.
But when does Butch ever say that?
Never.
I mean,
never.
Not to segue, but just the experience Butch has in the streaming world is that and it's not even the same thing, but all right, in the internet world, is that he runs a successful YouTube channel. He does have, I think, rounding on 1 million subs. He's got a good amount there, but the only reason he has that is because he's banking on stuff that he did 10 years ago. He uses very blatant clickbait, like, not even like slightly misleading or catching images. He'll outright tease a video that's like, fixing Teen Titans Go, and this gets into just something that drives me nuts about the guy, but just you think he's going to talk about Teen Titans Go, even if he likes the show, even if he doesn't want to talk poorly with other professionals' work in the industry, I understand that, but don't tease the video like you're going to say that, and he's not even willing to say, like, other people don't like the show. The most you can get out of him is, some people don't like it very much, and sorry, I just got off on this rant.
No, I think you're actually bringing up a good point. It's just a bit tangential, but
yeah.
It shows that Butch Hartman has a history of sort of baiting people through their nostalgia and then misleading them, and then just sort of leaving the fallout to go wherever it pleases. Like, he doesn't really seem to be good at damage control, and he doesn't really seem to be good at making sure that the audience gets what they want, ultimately.
To loop back to just the point of that in general was just that, like, the things he's achieved online are, only on YouTube, i.e. things that, like, literally anyone could theoretically achieve. His background in the industry, like, it doesn't... The only thing that matters in terms of that is just that he's banking off of stuff he's already done previously, and he's very manipulative. He's using, so his success there, I don't think in any way translates to being able to successfully run a streaming service.
No, this is what YouTube does to people, okay? And I'll admit I've kind of been guilty of it too. It's a great confidence booster when you find success and everything like that, and it makes you feel like you can do whatever you want. But the thing about YouTube is that a lot of it is false confidence. You have this big number behind you. Ooh, you got 1 million of this, so you got 2 million of that, and things like that. And it makes you feel really big. It makes you feel like you can do anything. But just because you have a big number behind your name doesn't mean you know shit about doing anything. It doesn't mean anything, because you didn't start with that, and you didn't gain it because you were doing this project. Let's say he was running a successful streaming service where he had 750,000 subscribers on that. And then he said, I'm going to start this new streaming service. Then it would be like, okay, well, you've shown that you have success in streaming services. You have over 750k subs. That's impressive. I feel confident backing this, knowing that you can do it again. But a YouTube subscriber is just that. It's a YouTube subscriber. It's just a person who clicked on a button. It doesn't really mean much more than that.
Yes, and to chime into a counter-argument, I can see some people are probably already brewing in their heads. I bet you some people are thinking that you're saying that if you haven't done something previously, you can't do it now, or you have no right to try now. But that's the thing. It's not just because, like, okay, well, Butch is never running streaming service, therefore he can never run a streaming service. That's not the logic. It's he has never run a streaming service before, and literally the only thing this Kickstarter has is Butch Hartman. He did not promise anyone else attached to the program. He has not shown that he has a plan. He has not shown anything to inspire confidence other than, hello, I am Butch Hartman. Mm-hmm. And just saying, hello, I'm Butch Hartman is not enough to tell me that you know how to run this.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I find it interesting, though, that Butch basically, in his plan, his Kickstarter, almost by design, is almost clickbaity, as in, he's kind of maybe almost promising that something of his will come out, like, oh, maybe I'll have more Danny Phantom.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. But
remember,
he doesn't own Danny Phantom. Nickelodeon does.
Mm-hmm.
So he can't, even if he wanted to. So what are you paying for exactly? The only thing that Butch could offer you from him are new concepts. New concepts that aren't owned by anyone and require funding and crews to make. So if he doesn't have any of that, let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say that this $250,000 would be used entirely on infrastructure.
Right.
And trademarking and stuff like that. First of all, you can't trademark the term Oaxis because it's actually already owned by an iPhone case maker company.
Oops.
So that's one thing, but anyway, so you gotta pay for trademarking, you gotta pay for servers, you gotta pay to set up the subscription service, you gotta pay for
apps to get your stuff on more than just the website, which no one's going to want a streaming service if you can only access it on the website. You need your Xbox app, you need your iPad app, you need your Chrome OS app. Like, you need apps. That takes a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
And then you need someone to oversee all of that infrastructure. You need IT people to set it up. You need actual locations to have it in, as in physical server structures and things like that. How in the piss is he expecting to pay for all this with that? And so, okay, so yeah, if he uses all of this money for infrastructure, so what is he going to do then? Because if he just sort of like, okay, well, I've got my streaming service set up, now I'm just going to get concepts from everyone else. I'm just going to get concepts from people and we'll air them on here. The problem is that he doesn't seem to be doing he doesn't seem to be putting forth any sort of what am I trying to say here?
He has nothing attached to the project. I mentioned, like, just as an example, someone like Binging with Babish, that YouTube channel that is quote-unquote family-friendly, although Butch never defines family-friendly, so I have no idea. Mm-hmm. Okay, you get him attached, you say, like, listen, I've been working with, you don't have to solidly announce anything, but just say, I've been working with this creator, and should my project get backed, we are going to have a show put together that is produced by this gentleman. We're putting some funding behind that. One of the big things, not to transition too hard, but one of the biggest things that annoys me about all of this is that there is literally no focus. Even if you want to create a project that has Netflix levels of scope and doing all sorts of things, you have to pick a way to start. Which show is going to be the first show, Butch? Assumingly, we would assume it would be a cartoon, but he never says that. He doesn't seem to focus on cartoons at all, despite that being what he's known for, and that being what his fans want. He has no focus. What are you getting? What is the first step here? What is the first show on the service?
Mm-hmm. And that's actually what I was going to say, but I couldn't remember what the word is that he doesn't seem to have any drive to purchase or get concepts from people. Like, I even asked him on his Twitter, very politely, I said, I'm curious to see whether or not you will accept outside pitches from people. Of course, I didn't get an answer, not that I'm surprised at this point, but it's just like, so, yeah, going back to his lack of focus, is that, does he honestly think he can do all of this himself, or does he not think he can do all of this himself, and is he just going to buy concepts from people to produce? But then again, that costs money too. But a lot of money.
It's insane because, okay, I'm Butch Hartman. Do you not know anyone else in the industry? Do you not? Because I don't know that he does. If he goes through this whole thing and doesn't attach anyone to it, how could you not? Even if it was like some guy that worked at Nickelodeon, like, okay, this person has experience running the logistics of a company. Say like, I'm using my... No, he doesn't even say that. There is no... The only thing you have to go on is Butch Hartman, family-friendly streaming service.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's enough for some people to donate. And now, I just want to say to the audience, if anyone who is listening actually donated to Oaxis Entertainment, we're not trying to make you feel like an idiot for donating to it. That's not the point of this discussion. We're just pointing out that some of the incongruities with his project and why it's not...
it's very questionable. Very questionable.
Yes, I would say that's the most polite way of putting it.
I'm not here to insult anyone. If you want to support Butch's Kickstarter, go ahead. But I've looked at this situation for the past few days, and just the more I see about it, the more I just don't... It's more than just a bad Kickstarter. It's manipulation. It's like trying to get people to donate to him just on this weird, like, blind faith, or like you're I don't know. I don't know. It's manipulation, and it's scummy, and I just don't get it. I really don't. I started out in this thing giving Butch so much credit and so much, like, whatever, but this man cannot begin a sentence without saying, I'm Butch Hartman, I created your childhood, I created Fairly Odd Parents, I created this, I created that, I created... Dude, you didn't create the whole thing. You created the concept behind 2 shows that I liked 10, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And you never give credit to anyone else. Never. I mean, maybe at some point, but he just... Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I agree. It's almost like he's holding your nostalgia hostage, in a
yes.
way. But that's the thing is, it would more be holding your nostalgia hostage if there was any promise of nostalgia. As in, like, we are gonna bring Danny Phantom back, but you gotta fund this thing. But it's you can't even do that. Like, you can't even do that.
Here's the thing. Okay, I'm not saying there will never be, like, a Fairly Odd Parent, or, well, I don't know, there could very well be more Fairly Odd Parents content, very likely, not necessarily from Butch, but Danny Phantom. Okay, I'm not saying there will never be another Danny Phantom TV movie or reunion, but that's on Nick. If Butch knows something, then Butch knows something. Either he knows that he has the rights to do this, or he has the possibility to negotiate with Nick to do it, or he does not. He knows that, right? We as an audience may not know. He might have kept some weird tie with Nickelodeon or kept something in a clause somewhere. We don't know, but he knows it. And so the continual teasing is a jerk move, because he knows... Either he knows that there is pretty much no possibility this can happen, or he knows that it's like, I don't know, or he kept something specifically in where he can do this. And even still, I don't want the guy to make Danny Phantom. From everything I've read, he's the reason why some of the worst aspects of Danny Phantom exist.
Yeah, I mean, it all went downhill after The Ultimate Enemy, at least to me. But yeah, like, in his, I would say that this Oaxis Entertainment idea is mostly just a money-lubricated self-masturbation, event going on here. But in his self-masturbation event, he fails to mention the other people who might be important. You know, like Fred Siebert or Bob Boyle or Steve Marmel, I don't know how you say it. You know, all of these people. You can't run a kingdom by yourself just because you're the king. You know, you need people to make it work. You need people to enforce your law. You need people to shine your shoes, to entertain you. The only reason a kingdom works is because of the people, not the king.
The funny thing is that, you know, he's announcing this on the heels of the president of Nickelodeon leaving, and I think in, like, one of his videos or something, he never outright says anything, because, I mean, we can get to that, but he seems to be maybe launching this a little bit on the idea that it's going to be, like, fan-focused or something like that, and so I betcha the timing of him launching this right when the Nick president's leaving is, like, not coincidental, but at the same time, he's, like, kind of doing what the thing that we don't like with, like, these company presidents do, and that they have just, like, this tyrannical grasp, and they don't seem to understand the audience or the fans or anything. They just have a vision of weird, like, whatever, and then they will follow through with it no matter how little sense it makes. He's doing the exact thing that we don't like networks doing, and he's trying to pitch this, like, small network or a new thing. Like, ugh.
Yeah, there's another point, too, in his family-friendly thing. There are 2 points, actually, that are very contentious. One is that I don't seem to think he understands about demographics and time slots, Because his pitch video is all like, the family sits down to watch the TV, and then it's like horror commercial and sex scene, and they're all blocking the kid's view and everything like that. And it's like, did you guys sit down to watch a TV show at 10 p.m. at night? Because that's when the adult stuff is on. If you don't want your kids to see that kind of stuff, then, you gotta watch earlier in the day.
I mean, we live in a wonderful era where it's easier than it's ever been. If you want your kids to just watch the most sanitized stuff, you could not get cable, just don't get it. Get Netflix and just lock them on Netflix Kids. I'm not saying that like everything on there is going to be like the most appropriate. Like honestly though, like that's the best chance you're ever going to get, and you don't even need to do anything hands-on with that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, and even then, with family-friendly designations, think of shows like Gravity Falls. Those are technically speaking family-friendly because they don't have adult content. There's no swearing. There's only the tiniest little bit of blood.
Well, can we talk? Oh, sorry, continue.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so that would be considered family-friendly because it's aired on a time slot. But what does he consider family-friendly? Is it just like absolutely no conflict, no character dynamics? Because character dynamics come about because of conflict. You know, it's like the fucking, sorry, it's like the Itchy and Scratchy short with lemonade. Please. You know, when there's no conflict, there's no interest.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, I wanted to talk about the family-friendly thing because, okay, some people called me out on saying like, oh, well, you think family-friendly is boring because you're an edgelord or whatever, and it's like, no. Listen to me. There is plenty of content that exists today that is completely family-friendly. Planet Earth, right? I'd say that's a perfect show to watch with the family. Sure, there might be maybe animal violence or something, but, like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. You know, there are shows that exist like that, but, like, what I'm saying here is that pitching family-friendly and nothing else, if you don't tell me what kind of shows you're making, and you tell me you're making all shows, and then what's the focus? Family-friendly? That, to me, is boring. In the same way, if you had said, I'm making, ultra-violent shows, or I'm making just, you know, whatever, like the most mature show, that's boring to me too. It's not that it's family-friendly, it's that it's family-friendly above the actual content. He has not described anything about what he wants the content to be like other than family-friendly, and he never defines what family-friendly means. Some people take him to say that that's like nothing at all, not animal violence in a nature documentary, not adult innuendo in a cartoon, nothing at all, the super cleanest thing, which I don't believe even exists at all. But if that's what you're saying, if that's what you think Butch is for, I got news for you. The Fairly OddParents has innuendo in it. I don't think there's a problem with that, but if you are that, like, puritanical, and you know what, if that's how you want to live your life, that's fine. Don't go with Butch Hartman, because there's some naughty things in his shows.
Yeah, like some of those horrible, hyper-detailed close-ups a la Ren and Stimpy. Those are funny! But they're not family-friendly, because what if a 2-year-old was watching and didn't realize it, and it's like, oh no, your baby cannot see that. You know, it's just his failure to explain with his stance on family-friendly stuff is why we're so upset about this.
Okay, then can we transition into Butch Hartman, and I kind of mentioned this a little before, is a politician. He is politician levels of, I will talk without ever saying a stance on anything. It's all positivity and good vibes, man. He made a video about the Danny Phantom controversy. Dude, there was a few controversies about the show in regards to I believe one of the some killer like cited the show as the reason he went off on a rampage. Like
what?
Yeah, because of Ember. No, I mean look it up. Don't take my word for it.
Yeah. Actually, I think I have heard about this. Yeah, go on.
But yeah, like, shoot, what was my point? Hang on.
You're saying he was like a politician where he could say a whole bunch of things and never say anything.
Right, that's how he is. Watch any of his, like, podcasts, right? Like, he did one with Jerry Trainer right around the time, I think, when, like, Dan Schneider got fired, or, like, when there was a lot of heat going on with that. And, I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying I expected Jerry Trainer to, like, talk crap about whatever, but, like, they don't talk about anything but, like, the most sanitized, positive, 100%, like, A-okay thing. And I wouldn't even have a problem with that, except Butch teases it. Like I said, with the Teen Titans Go video, he teases like he's going to say something negative about it. The Danny Phantom video, he teases like he's going to say something. Butch will never say one single solitary negative thing about any of the shows he's ever worked on or anything else. And I get why. Because in the industry, if you speak poorly on other people, you get blacklisted. No one wants to work with that guy. I understand that, and that's not even a problem. But if you're going to start a YouTube channel, if you're going to start something and claim that you're for the fans and say that you're going to try to do these types of videos without speaking honestly, that is so disgustingly manipulative. I hate it.
Also, I think one thing that Butch has a problem with, and this isn't exactly related to Oaxis, but I do think it's kind of related, is that he doesn't seem to want his audience to be critical of him. He wants them to stay in this kind of, like, nostalgia-tinted pit
fun box.
Yeah.
Fun box, oh fun box.
Yeah, he wants everyone to stay in the fun box, so that, because the nostalgia-blinded are not critical. And he doesn't seem to be able to take anything critical. Not in that he doesn't flip out like Derek Savage or anything like that. It's just his method of dealing with critical attention is to ignore it completely. Which, in a way, is kind of good, because if people are insulting him, you can ignore it. But in this situation, transparency is the most important thing. You are asking these people for money, okay? You're not asking them to just, like, just type A in the comments or press F for respects or something like that. You're asking them for money, which in internet terms is your pledge of trust.
Yeah.
So when he's asking for this pledge of trust from you, but he's being so unbelievably not transparent, he's basically taking this nostalgic fun box, locking his audience inside, and then when someone asks to come out, he basically is just like, you don't want to come out because I might have some Danny Phantom shoved through the bars at some point. You want to see that, don't you? It's he doesn't want his audience to grow up because they'll become more critical of him.
I don't want to play like, psychoanalyst or something like that, but I do kind of wonder if he keeps this. I mean, he's aware that Tough Puppy and Bunsen is a Beast are not super nostalgic, super loved shows. I'm not even saying that they're bad shows, but he's aware that they're not hits, because he says it in the Kickstarter. He mentions Fairly Odd Parents and Danny Phantom first, and then as well as other hits, which he still calls them a hit, but like he's aware of the two shows that he's known for and that people most love. So he's like aware. He's not living in this super ignorant bubble. And I almost wonder if he wants people to not be critical and to not ask questions and to not do stuff, because if you kind of start to look at it, what has he really done in the last 10 years he was at Nickelodeon?
He did grow up Timmy Turner.
Sorry, that's just a gut reaction.
Yeah.
People, like, when I started out making that video that night, I didn't do it as I wanted to like do some smear campaign on Butch Hartman. I did it because there's a lot of holes in this, and I never expected him to actually listen to me, but like maybe if enough people listened to me and started talking to him, maybe he could actually just fill us in on what his plan is. Just update the Kickstarter. You know who did that? The mysterious Mr. Enter. Someone with a reputation for maybe not listening to criticism and being a little bit too just kind of set in his ways. He listened to me and updated the Kickstarter with a ton of new information and answered the questions. I'm not asking for everyone to listen to me directly, but I made these videos with the intent to criticize, to help. Help.
Yeah, like, if it was going to be just us shitting all over Butch Hartman, it would have been like, okay, well, let's just not, we won't acknowledge anything. We'll just be like, well, this is stupid, right? This is dumb. Yeah. What an idiot. That's not the point. Is that look, when it comes down to it, Butch Hartman did do things that are beloved by people. Yeah, he did make Danny Phantom. He did make Fairly Odd Parents. But that doesn't really matter, because they're, at the end of the day, they're just TV shows, okay? Just because he made TV shows that you like doesn't mean he knows what the hell he's doing, okay? Look at George Lucas. Look at Matt Groening. These people who, they make these things that you love so much, but that doesn't mean they know how to do it. It's a team of people who come together to make something great. No one thing is ever great because of one person.
That's very true. It's always a collaborative effort in production.
Mm-hmm. Even South Park is great, not just because of Trey Parker and Matt Stone, but because of all the animators and the writers. Well, it's mostly Trey Parker and Matt Stone, right? But basically, if you ever think that something is great just because of the one person, you might just want to take a step back and look and just think, is it just them, or is it more than them?
Yep. And the only reason I got to this point where I don't want to say that I'm like hating on him, but I've become very critical of him as a person and very questioning, it's just because there's so many things, and I mean, we can get into more of them. It's not just because I don't like the way he does his YouTube videos or that I think he's put together a poor Kickstarter. It's the manipulation. It's the lack of transparency. It's the fact that he is starting to represent. He came into the scene maybe trying to represent a side of animation or a side of the professional industry that is willing to talk to fans and make a YouTube channel and just be real. He started out with that, and he's just become basically, or maybe he always was this and we never realized it, just the exactly kind of phony that we hate. Not that we hate, but just that we very heavily criticize in the industry.
Mm-hmm. And let's just go back to Oaxis in particular now, because I think we're getting a bit off topic here. Mm-hmm. But there's a few things of contention about his Kickstarter that's actually a little bit more suspicious. Now, one I want to bring up is the user upload feature that he touts. Okay, so you've already got servers to host all of your content that you're supposedly going to buy. Just saying, like, hypothetically, you're going to buy all this content. Also, you want to have infrastructure in place to allow for a user upload feature and have moderators that will vet the content that's being uploaded so that only family-friendly stuff is uploaded. Okay, so can we discuss how this is really bad idea?
The only way I could reasonably see this, and it's greatly misleading how it's stated if this is like the end-up result, but if like once a week Butch Hartman or whoever selects from like just everyone submits, and then once a week he's like, okay, well, this is the clip of the week from the user. That's the only way I see this happening. I do not see a YouTube situation where everyone could just upload a ton of stuff because of the amount of moderation needed and the amount of server space, like just the servers you need. I don't think that would ever work. No way. Mm-hmm.
But then if it does go that way, why should people care about some random person's like 2-year-old's birthday or something like that? The only reason those types of videos get views on YouTube is because they show up in recommended feeds. Say you're watching a funny video about a cat or whatever, and then it's like, oh, a funny baby video comes up. Yeah, that's family-friendly content, but they have the infrastructure in place to allow that. Nobody is going to watch a random video of some 2-year-old's birthday because you're not invested in their happiness, you know? Yep. And then if you're gonna do like, it's just too vague. Like, if you're gonna do truly family-friendly content, as in, like, a video that is about a bunch of flowers or something like that. A
kitten sneezing. Like, yeah. I don't know.
Why should people care, you know? It just doesn't... And then, of course, if he's not gonna do that, if he's just gonna allow a free-for-all user upload thing and try to moderate it in some way, how is that possible?
It's not. It's simply not. It's an empty promise at worst, or at best. I don't know.
Yeah, and of course, that leads me to another thing. Don't you think that would have been interesting as maybe like a pledge goal or something? As in, like, if you donate $50 or more, you get the option to upload to this user upload feature? That's another thing about the vagueness. The reward tiers have nothing to do with the project. Nothing. At least with Mr. Enter's project. At least with Mr. Enter's project, all of his rewards are related to the project. Mm-hmm. Not Mr. Enter, because it's about the project, and that's something I could definitely salute. This one is just Butch Hartman stuff. You want to get a shout-out from Butch Hartman? You want a signed picture from Butch Hartman? It's just like...
Dude, like, I get making 1 or 2 or 3 of the goals being about Butch or whatever, like, you know, especially if they're rare things, like... I don't know, an animation cell, if such a thing were to exist and wasn't just a reproduction. I could see that, but like, yeah, they're all that, and you know what that says? That says that there is no product. There is not even a beta of a product. There's not an alpha of a product. This is an idea that a guy has. And you know what? That's not what crowdfunding. That's not what works. Maybe a few years ago, but people are cynical now. People have caught on. I don't mean cynical even in a bad way, but they're just aware when there is nothing behind it. You or I could create the same sort of campaign in like a day. I mean, the video itself, like, by the way, which has production issues in it. Oops. The video itself is the thing that he seemed to have worked the most time on, and even that's not like, it's just a bunch of clips of like, it looks like just like royalty-free footage of people being happy. Followed by, or with the family on the couch. Like, that's it. Nothing else about this screams that, like, a professional in the industry and not just, like, high school student trying to fund his crazy goal, his pipe dream. Like...
Yeah. And speaking of the pledge goals, too, like, just... if you look at the $5,000 pledge here, $5,000. That's a lot of money, okay? Yep. With a donation of $5K, you'll be given access to a 1-hour group video call with Butch Hartman himself. You can talk animation, comedy, comic books, and all things nerd-related with Butch. Plus, you get everything in the lower tiers.
Oh, how nice.
So, $5,000 for a 1-hour group call with not a one-on-one call, not a one-on-one call, a group call. So you could be there. You could potentially be there with a bunch of other sweaty nerds who you don't know.
Sol, you're missing the even better qualify. Given access. You're given access, meaning you can talk, which means I don't even think that it's like everyone's in a call talking. I think it's like, okay, well now maybe I'll bring in someone, or maybe basically this could, going along with the theme of vagueness, this could mean you get to ask Butch Hartman one question on his group chat stream.
Yeah.
Or video call. No, this won't be streamed. And also, you can't ask him anything like remotely controversial because there's no way he'll answer that.
Yeah. And also, so like pledging $10,000 for some of these things, that's like a third of a year's salary for some people. To be, for what? For a producer credit, or to become an animated character, or to have an acting role in a live action show. What?
How?
Does that cover the plane ticket cost? Does that cover room and board? Like, what are you talking about?
I mean,
of course, it doesn't specify any actual production they'll be working on.
No, I mean, it's telling that the only ones that are even Oaxis related are the vaguest things. It's just like, okay, well, if anything, I mean, this tells me, the average consumer, that this is like, okay, so you're gonna be voiced. Like, how do I know that this person is even qualified? So, okay, the only people we have attached to this project are Butch Hartman and like 3 random schmoes who have 10 grand to throw at him. Those are the other people attached to this project.
You know what would have been more, like, a bit more concrete too about this whole thing? If they had shown a registered trademark for the name Oaxis, that would have been like, we're serious about this, man. We got the name trademarked. I mean, like, oh, okay, just there you go. But not even that. Not even a trademark for the name. Probably because he can't, because it's already trademarked.
Oh, man. I mean, I'm not suggesting anyone do this, but theoretically, you too could start a crowdfunding campaign for Oaxis for the most gritty, hardcore content out there. Mm-hmm. You could use the name. You could even use the same format and just replace family friendly with gritty.
He keeps saying this, Butch Hartman himself. Like, I'm sorry, I'm really trying not to be a jerk about this, but...
He's not Stan Lee.
What kind of ego does this guy have if he just, like... A social media shout-out on not just my Instagram, but also my YouTube channel with over 700,000 subscribers. Who cares? Nobody cares about some random person who had $50 to throw at you.
I guess you could say that Butch Hartman has become his own ultimate enemy.
Yeah, well, when is he gonna get locked in the thermos then? Another thing too about his project that is a contentious point is that there's absolutely no facts at all, so no frequently asked questions. His only comment is, like, Butch Hartman's only comment on the project is, "Thanks, we are thrilled you're a supporter." And that's it. Nothing else. There's no community, no updates. Granted, it's only been about, like,
it's been a few days.
Yeah, it's been like 7 days. But 7 days without an update for a project where you're asking for $250,000 for something that is so unclear and vague. You gotta update people, man.
While we're looking at, like, the page itself, the comments section. So, okay, 2 things about this. One, someone donated and then commented just recommending watching my video. Of course, Butch didn't respond to that. Butch didn't respond to any of these except for one of them, just randomly. But, even some of the people that think that this is a good idea and want to support him still agree that like, just the presentation, if nothing else, is harebrained. And then the other thing, you want to talk about the contest thing? Did you hear about that?
I did not hear the specifics about it, no. Could you please elaborate?
Yeah. Well, so Butch made a little video, or I think it was part of his main video, but he posted it like as his own video on Facebook or something, where Butch says that, hey, if you donate to my campaign and then comment hashtag, I think it's FOP contest, you have a chance to win this one-of-a-kind Fairly Odd Parents production cell.
Oh.
And people are saying that the cell is most likely a reproduction because the Fairly Odd Parents, aside from the pilots, which the shot is not from, they were not produced in traditional animation. By the time the actual show got actually going in 2001, it was just your standard animation, no cells.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So people are claiming that it's fake, which, okay, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's like some production image that was originally drawn at that time, but he's calling it a cell or something. Okay. The other sketchy thing is that Kickstarter explicitly forbids contests of the raffle variety.
Kate?
Yeah, so that's... And, I mean, you can see even that, like, a lot of the comments on here are hashtag FOP contests, although not that many. Not that many, Butch. Not that many.
Mm-hmm. One thing I could say about the reward tiers, too. Don't you think a reward tier that would be infinitely more useful to people, considering the comments on his Twitter and the comments on the project, is allow, like, let's say for a $10,000 pledge, you could have the opportunity to pitch your concept to Butch Hartman.
Yeah, let's move on to that.
It's unbelievably expensive, sure, but it's something that someone would want, okay? Because since it's so vague, there's no guarantee of what concept is going to be here. So, if you gave the opportunity for people to be like, hey, if you give $500, you could sit down for a 30-minute call with Butch Hartman himself and pitch your concept to him.
And that's a thing. Like, another one of the manipulative things about this guy is just that, like, if you notice on his actual video on his YouTube channel that he put out to everyone, as opposed to just the one that's on the Kickstarter page, he keeps talking about how it's, like, for the fans and this and that. And in the past, he's always spoken about, like, wanting to support indie animation and wanting to support people and this and that with animation and fans, but nothing about this, aside from the whole upload your own content nebulous promise, is like, I'm going to work with YouTube creators, or I'm going to work with people to help get their shows look more professional, or even just acquiring YouTube productions. Like, none of it's said, right? He's all for the fans and he's for indie content, except for when he actually has to put his money where his mouth is and promise something. Nothing about this campaign looks like it's for the fans or for anyone other than family-friendly supporters.
Which
and just real quick, if we're talking about good ideas for, like, reward tiers, how about, like, I don't know, a subscription for a year to the service?
That's a good idea.
But that goes to show that he probably doesn't have any idea of how he's monetizing this, because he can't promise that if it's going to be like a one-time payment or if it's a monthly payment. If he doesn't know, he can't promise it.
Mm-hmm. Even streaming services that I have a bad taste in my mouth for, like Verve, even they promised content before they started asking for subscriptions. Like Bravest Warriors. People knew what Bravest Warriors was, okay? And is. And, like, I'm not fond of Verve at all, but at least there was something there.
Yep.
It's, I guess, if for people at this point, we should just sum up the crux of our argument by just saying that the vagueness is what's most frustrating about it, as well as the ego of this guy.
And the manipulation, I'd say.
And the manipulation, yeah. Of course, if you pledge $1,000 or more, I, Butch Hartman, have an art academy that I want you to be enrolled in. Yeah, well, if you want people to be enrolled in it, don't make them pay $1,000 to get in.
The dude's given enough tutorials and stuff that, like, even I'm not an artist, but even I think I kind of have at least a grasp on generally how he designs things. Like, I'm not saying I could do artwork anywhere near as good as Butch Hartman, but if you've seen enough kind of like behind the scenes stuff and things, his style is not very hard to grasp as far as I understand. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. He's not going about this with any sort of grace or tact. He's not coming off as someone who needs money or support. He's coming off as someone who demands money and support because he's Butch Hartman.
Yep.
And this is actually what I mentioned on my Twitter too, is that if this fails, which there's a pretty good chance this is going to fail. I mean, it's already a week into the project and he hasn't even made half of his goal yet, not even close. But again, I'm not saying I want it to fail. I'm just saying it's looking pretty likely that it's going to fail. But I said on my Twitter, it's like, if this fails, I just have this feeling, based on the way this project is, he's gonna go about his failure not as if it was his fault, but more, we didn't want family-friendly content enough. It's our fault that it failed. All of us.
Well, so, you know, I talked about this quite a bit in my video, and this is another thing that gets me. It's just that, like, I mean, this goes hand in hand with the family-friendly thing, but Butch is an anti-negativity person. You can see it on his Twitter. He says things like, I refuse to let negativity rule. Just because someone won't take a chance of their own doesn't mean they should knock someone else who will. With which is definitely not like some sort of thinly veiled reference towards the criticism he's gotten. You know, he says things like that, but like, what does that really mean? Think about what it means if you can't allow someone to be negative. I swear there's a Fairly Odd Parents episode about this. But, like, if you're not allowing someone to be negative in any way, that means you're not allowing them to have their opinion. If I show you something and I tell you you can only be happy about this thing that I'm showing you, I am effectively censoring you. Now, of course, in a person-to-person way, that might just be a polite way of not telling your friend that he sucks at something because you want to be supportive. But when you put it on a grand scale, ultimately what it means is that Butch does not want to hear from you if you have anything negative to say about anything. Even a mild negative opinion is negativity and is bad, and we can't do it. And that's what I don't like about people who have this no negativity policy. Being a positive person in general is a good thing, but negativity has its place, and part of its place is to allow you to not fall for scams on the internet, which I'm not necessarily saying this is a scam, but like other Kickstarters that are done in a similar way that are 100% scams where they take the money and run look a lot like Butch Hartman's. And if you have any negative thinking or like critical thinking skills, hey, it can help you avoid being scammed.
Yeah, it's like you said with the Funbox thing. It's just looking through his Twitter too with this, you've trusted me with your childhood, won't you trust me with your future? That just comes off, it comes off as so just like the world is drowning in a sea of nostalgia right now. And drowning is never a good thing, okay? But you're letting them drown. You're not throwing them a life preserver and trying to be realistic. You're just letting them drown. You're putting your finger on their head and pushing them slowly down into their sea of nostalgia. But that's a bad thing. You can't drown people in nostalgia just because you aren't getting what you want.
Yep. And nothing about your new service, Butch, has anything to do with my childhood. You are not rebooting anything that I cared that you made previously. You're not rebooting anything. You're not continuing anything. You are not even promising a cartoon made by you. You are not even promising that. You are promising me a streaming service that has nothing to do with anything that you've ever made before. So no, I'm not going to trust you with anything because you're not even doing something that I trusted you to do before, quote unquote.
Can we talk too about the Noog Network and how it relates to this?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Butch this isn't the first time Butch has done something like this. Go for it.
Well, I'm not as informed about the Noog Network, unfortunately. So I don't really have anything specific to say about it. It just seems like as soon as one thing doesn't work, he just sort of flips onto another thing and just doesn't really seem to care. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend like I know a lot about this. But,
as far as I understand, and I also don't know a lot, but as far as I understand, the Noog Network was a children, like very padded children's app where they produce like original cartoons and like very inoffensive content, which is fine if it's for young kids or whatever. But from what it seems, it's like he had this idea of doing it and doing a really big thing with it, and then he didn't. It's basically just an app that you can get. I don't think it's available on any other devices other than app. And you can see some original, like, 2-minute long cartoons made for a very young audience. That's it. And it there's not really any push behind it. And it does kind of set a little bit of a scary precedence that he could try this. He could let's say that this comes out. He has a network. He has a website. And he makes an original show, but like he doesn't professionally animate it. He just kind of does basic, animation on the cheap. Makes these like 3-minute shorts, and then he acquires like one program, or he makes some weird live action like Questions with Butch Hartman type show, and then he forgets about the service. That would be my prediction of what would actually happen if this actually got funded. But yeah.
I'm just looking here at the Noog Network App Store purchase thing going on here, and also at the website where at the bottom it says a safe place for kids, but then on the App Store it says age rating is rated 12+. Okay, but that's unrelated to Oaxis. But I'm just saying, so if his idea
it's related.
It's related in that his idea for Oaxis is to make it family friendly and all that. What isn't that what he's doing with the Nuke Network then? If he's making it child friendly, because when you say family friendly, to me that means child friendly, as in the adults can watch it too, but that doesn't mean they're going to be entertained. But the kids can watch it too, and kids don't really ask for all that much, kind of thing. But yeah, like it just so what. Why does he need Oaxis if he has the Nuke Network? Why doesn't he just change the Nuke Network to support what he wants for Oaxis? There's already live action content on the Nuke Network here that I can see. So what?
Because the Nuke Network didn't do so good.
But then what's the guarantee that Oaxis isn't going to go the same route if it's funded fully? Where it's
There is none. There is none. I mean, okay. So you want to compare it to other streaming services out there, right? Look at Netflix. Netflix did not just start one day saying, we're going to make our own original cartoons and live action shows and this and this and this, and we're going to acquire a bunch of stuff. No, they were Blockbuster, essentially, but male. And then they slowly transitioned and transitioned and transitioned. At this point, no one, I don't think anyone, unless they're attached to a big company like Disney, can just create something like this on a small scale. You need to be big, you know what I mean? Like, you need to have content. You need to make me excited about this. I'm already paying like $40 a month for like 5 different services. Why do I want to go to Oaxis? I mean, like the whole, just there's no chance of success with this. I just don't see it. I really don't.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When you say you need to be big, that's the thing, is Butch Hartman is seen as big, but he is not big, okay? Look, I'm not going to say that creating shows is any small feat, okay? Look, I don't have a show. That's
How dare you speak about this then? You're jealous.
Yeah, yeah, jelly over here. He has 4 shows under his belt. Yes, that great achievement, everything like that. I'm not saying that. But the thing is that at the end of the day, he's just a guy, okay? He is just a guy who, has been working in the industry for a while and everything like that. And he has a lot of subscribers and everything like that. But is that enough for you to throw your unflinching, unwavering, absolutely everything trust in him? To just dedicate your heart, your mind, and your soul towards this idea of his that is so vague, and I would almost go as far as to call it insulting to the supporter. Mm-hmm. It's like, thanks for the money, jackass, and then you didn't donate enough? Well, how about you donate more? It's almost coming off as kind of like a cult of personality kind of thing.
Yep. I guess I don't want to get too conspiracy theory here, and I don't really want to make any huge accusations, but I would like to bring up something that a number of people have kind of brought to my attention, in that Butch is a born-again Christian. And a lot of times this whole family-friendly, or I want to bring the family back together, this sort of attitude and talk is basically code for I want to make content that is hardcore Christian values. And personally, I have no problem with anyone making any show for any values that they want. If that's what they want, if that's what they want to do, then okay. But the problem I have is that if that's what's going on, and I don't know, I'm not saying for sure it is, then it's really sketchy that he never mentions anything like that. That he doesn't say, like, I want to do this for Christians, or I want to bring Christian values in, or something like that. He doesn't say that, and it goes hand in hand with the family-friendly thing. A lot of people were bringing up the question of LGBT themes. You know, hey, what's more family than, like, you know, actual families out there that just don't happen to be nuclear? And the problem is that, like, I think some people are looking up to Butch and seeing that, and I don't know his stance on LGBT issues, but there has been a supposed past where on his website, on his forums, he blocks anyone that did any, like, I don't know, any Danny Phantom fan art that was LGBT or anything like that. Like, he seemed to have some issues supposedly in the past, and I know I'm speaking very vaguely. I'm intentionally doing it because I don't really want to point the finger, but I'm just kind of speaking on just things that have been brought to my attention, is that you know, how insulted would you be if you were someone on the LGBT spectrum and you supported this, and then you came to find out that family friendly does not mean you. You are not a part of the family.
Mm-hmm. Does this mean you can't watch it if you don't have a family? I mean, I'm just kidding, obviously. But yeah, I mean, that's a tenuous topic because there's just not enough information currently. But yeah, I agree. It's like if you threw money at this because you genuinely believe that it could make it, and then content came out that you didn't agree with, not from a family-friendly standpoint, like you weren't offended by it. It's just that you aren't welcome, even though you gave money. Kind of thing.
Or that it was never... And it goes hand in hand. I mean, again, I think that this might just be complete silly speculating, and this might, I have no idea if this is true or not. But the problem is, because Butch is so vague in his Kickstarter and everything, I'm willing to even listen to crazy conspiracy theories because there's nothing concrete. He doesn't give anything concrete to debunk it. You know what I mean? Like, it's if you had just given us like a tiny bit of more detail in anything you ever did with this Kickstarter, it would mean something.
It's so frustrating to talk about because there's like nothing to talk about except what isn't there.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. I guess I would say that my stance on this, ultimately, is look at all of the other people who go about their projects with this massive hubris because they have a big number behind them. They have a big number of years of experience in the industry. They have a big number of YouTube subscribers. Well, you know who else has big numbers of YouTube subscribers? The Fine Brothers. And
Logan
Smosh. Logan Paul, yeah. Just because you have a lot of subscribers, and just because you have a lot of years of doing something, doesn't mean you know what the fuck you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't have that credibility behind you, then build it by saying something. By not just saying, I'm going to promise you this, this, and this, but saying like, well, here's a look at how I'm going to do this. I mean, again, to like compare it to Enters, which is just, it's an easy comparison because they both came out at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of things you could say about Enters Kickstarter, but he does break down what he wants to use the money on. Like he does break a lot of things down, and it's just like, I don't know. It's like, how are you? He says he's an industry professional, and I know in my mind that he is, but like, dude, I don't know. He's just, I guess he's just out of touch.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, he's employing tactics that people who run cults do. You just pledge your eternal, unwavering trust in someone, you give them your money, you don't question it, and you just hope for the best. But the best never comes. Usually you end up dying. But that's,
What? Wait, what?
Not through this.
Oh.
But I'm just saying, his tactics are very cultish in the way he's trying to get money, is that the promise of something positive through long-term vagueness is just it doesn't jive well with me, and I can see why it wouldn't jive well with you or anyone else.
But Saul,
family,
nostalgia, Danny Phantom. I made your childhood, dude. You made like 2 shows. Get out of here.
Yeah, and like, even then, like, just what do you think people were like? Praying to the altars of Danny Phantom and Fairly Odd Parents? They were TV shows, man. That's it.
And here's the thing, like, so earlier we talked about how kind of like Butch avoids negativity and stuff. It's like, okay, you have Chloe, a character that is pretty much universally hated. Not everyone, but very strongly, a lot of people do not like this character and do not like it. And Butch has a chance to actually make a video saying like, you know what, I do agree, and maybe I faltered in these ways, maybe the character wasn't written well, blah, 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 blah. But instead, he just talks about like, oh, well, Nickelodeon wanted me to make a character for this reason. And it's like, how about owning up to it? You don't have to say it's a complete disaster. You don't have to insult the people that like this character, but just some self-reflection. And it's just, I wonder if it's just that he's putting on a professional front, or if it's just that he's just that, I don't know, just that he's that anti, like, speaking anything negatively, which is weird when you have a show where there's literal anti-characters.
Yeah, or egotistical in that he genuinely cannot understand that he's done something wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and think of all the other people who were trusted with our childhoods. Steven Hillenburg isn't doing something like this. Craig McCracken isn't doing anything like this. Even Mr. John Chrisfalusi isn't doing stuff like this.
Oh, and that's another good point. Is just that, like, right now there's this there's this general distrust in people, in like Hollywood types, for I think very good reason, because a lot of a lot of frankly awful things that had been covered up for years are coming to light. It's like, Butch, is now really a good time to be like pulling something like blindly trust someone in Hollywood when like we've literally had how many people, even just from the cartoon like industry, we've had like 3 or 4 of them be alleged for sexual misconduct with proof to back it up. Like, I don't know.
But he created your childhood. He created your childhood, man. That's all that matters.
Is that not tone deaf though? That to launch it maybe like right now, like I don't know.
Okay, well, this is going on long, so let's sum up how we feel and just sort of give some closure here. So, Pi, can you just summarize how you feel, just in case anyone skips straight to the end?
I'll be fair with this. I'll say the Kickstarter has no details to speak of. And when you have a business plan with no details to speak of, it's very likely that you have no business details to speak of. So that's why I and a lot of other people are distrustful of this campaign. I've grown further distrustful of Butch himself because of several misleading, manipulative tactics he's pulled. But to be 100% fair, I will say this. If Butch actually makes a video or actually comments on this stuff in a genuine way, I'm not saying he needs to agree with everything I said, I'm not saying he needs to change everything he's ever done, but if he genuinely actually has any amount of self-reflection publicly on Twitter, on YouTube, or anything, I will 100% reconsider my opinion on him and look at him in a new light. That's it. So if you're thinking that I'm hating on him or that I just whatever, like, I genuinely don't like the guy at this point, but I'm willing to give him a chance if he actually opens up and just peels off this layer of fakeness. Sorry, that was probably more than you were looking for, but just no, that's okay. You could sum up your feelings now.
Basically, I think that this project of his is a complete mess. I think that it's really embarrassing, to be honest, highly manipulative, extremely egotistical, and, well, I'm not saying I want it to fail, I'm saying that I kind of hope it does, just to kind of get him down a bit, as in, like, dude, you're not infallible, and not every idea you have is a good one, okay? Sometimes you need to fail to be shown what you're good at. So, I'm not saying I wish his failure, I'm saying that if it does fail, I hope it gives him a chance to have some self-reflection and see that maybe he isn't the infallible god of nostalgic creation that he seems to think that he is. I sincerely wish him the best, but I hope he can maybe put a pin in his head and deflate his blimp-like ego for just a little bit, so maybe he can see that maybe he took some wrong steps here, and if he wants to try again in the future with a bigger goal, but a more humble approach, then so be it. He can do what he wants, ultimately.
Yeah, I do
Doesn't
think
mean
that,
I have to support him, though.
I do think that in the wake of this Kickstarter, like, whether he reaches his goal or not, I think we will kind of maybe see the true measure of who he is. And I mean, I make no mistake in saying that we know him personally, because I don't. He could be a 100% good guy personally, but just I don't like his professional veneer, what he's done in public here. And I do think that whatever happens with this, either he'll turn on his fans or he'll be humble about it maybe for once, or constructive about it. I don't know, but I think that maybe we'll learn some things about him. I've certainly learned some things thus far.
And just remember, if you're listening to this and you're a really, really big Butch Hartman supporter, or you love the shows that he makes, remember, the shows are not the person, okay? You can love the shows all you want, but if you can call someone out on their bullshit and still realize that what they've done is a good thing, then that's a good thing. But if you blindly defend the person just because they happen to make a show that you liked when you were, like, 8 years old or whatever, don't you think maybe you should take a step back and just use your brain, you know? Yeah. It's okay to use your brain. You don't have to be scared, man. It's okay. Anyway, so that's our long rant on Oaxis Entertainment. We very much appreciate you listening if you got all the way to the end. Comments are very much appreciated because we do want to keep this discussion going, at least for as long as Oaxis is up. We do encourage discussion as long as it's civil. Any parting words, Spy?
No, I've said everything I can.
Okay. Obviously, if you'd like to hear more of Pi's stuff, his link to his channel will be in the description. Yep. I'll also put it on the screen at the end. You can check it out. He did another video on the Oaxis Kickstarter if you want sort of a more concise summation of the points that we've had here. Yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed, and I guess we will see you guys later. Yep. Have a good day, everyone.
PIEGUYRULZ, out.